Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be out here. I don't have an agricultural or communications background. I have a computer science and aerospace engineering background, so I probably should have gone to the University of Illinois to study it. But so I'll tell you a little bit about our work in India that we've been doing for the last 6 years at Digital Green, and which we've also been recently starting up activities in Africa, primarily in Ethiopia and Ghana. So when I first went out to India in 2006, I was confronted with going out to a rural place for the very first time and meeting sort of agricultural communities also for the very first time. And what I met on the ground were these extension officers. You're all very familiar with extension officers being from a land-grant institution. And essentially the same model of land-grant institutions was taken from the US to India during the Green Revolution era, and replicated with the state agricultural university system, extension officers trying to reach out to farmers and to train them on improved practices and technologies to improve their farm productivities. But as you can imagine, the challenges in India are much more, right? In the sense that both the diversity and scale of farmers is very vast. 60% of the country's population depends on agriculture as a major source of its livelihood, but yet the sector is only 17% of the country's GDP and has been sliding. And for extension officers who are trying to reach out to this diverse and large population of farmers who are diverse not just in terms of scale, but also in terms of language, socioeconomic status, agroecological types of situations, you can imagine the huge challenges that it involves. And India has the second largest extension force in the world with over 100,000 extension officers. But reaching out to 60% of a 1.2 billion person population is a huge challenge. I just wanted to share this one quote that you may have come across, which is, "X has never been used to its full capacity in support of economic development. It may be financially impossible to use it in this way, but still the possibility is tantalizing. What is the full power and vividness of X teaching were to be used to help the schools develop a country's new educational pattern? What if the full persuasive and instructional power of X were to be used in support of community development and the modernization of farming? Where would the break-even point come? Where would the savings in rate of change catch up with the increased cost?" Does anyone have an idea? You probably do because you're from this communications group. But does anyone have an idea what X might be? That's right. This was in 1964. This is a quote from a paper where they claimed that television was going to provide this monumental change in farming systems, in educational types of interventions across the developing world. And though, of course, in India, for example, 40% of the rural communities there have access to television, the changes that we want to be able to see realized with a device like television or these communication technologies in general, we can all admit have not really been seen. So in 2005, the government of India did a national sample survey of its farmer, looking at the sources of information that farmers were relying upon in the preceding year and applying, and were seeing which were the most effective. And they basically found that the formal channels that the government had been supporting, like the extension officers, as well as for the last 40, 50 years, running broadcast television, newspaper, and radio programs, were reaching a proportionally small number of farmers. What was most effective, as you might surmise, was other farmers themselves, sharing information with their neighbors at the marketplace, and the input dealers who were selling them seeds or fertilizers or pesticides. So it was in that context that we started up this work of trying to see how we could build upon this network of extension systems that already exist in the country with these 100,000 extension officers of the government, as well as with other organizations of the civil society sector, with NGOs, as well as with private agribusiness running their own extension systems as a part of perhaps their contract farming operations. And what we wanted to do was to be able to share knowledge and improve the efficiency of these extension systems just using simple devices. So in the last 5 to 10 years, with the commoditization of handy cams like this $100 one that this woman is using, or with this Pico projector to be able to distribute videos, we're essentially trying to create a network across India where we have been training individuals from the community to create videos about best practices featuring local farmers, about practices across value chains, across multiple value chains that people are interested, crop-based, animal husbandry-based, and others, aspects of livelihood development, to be able to create videos across the country. So far, this network of communities and partners that we're working with across 1,100 villages in India with 85,000 farmers has produced over 2,000 of these videos, which are short 8 to 10 minute videos across these aspects of agricultural development. To be able to support that whole network, though, as we're working across 6 states in India with 8 different partner organizations and these 1,100 villages, which are largely off the grid of both internet as well as electricity, we've had to design systems to be able to support the exchange of information. So at the village level, right, we're using cameras to create these videos featuring local farmers. To distribute these videos, we're using a device, a pico projector device, which you won't really be able to see very well with the lighting in the room, but it's a battery-operated projector that allows us to screen these videos to small groups of farmers who are meeting each week and watching one new video together with a facilitator who's able to provide support in answering questions, providing access to inputs that might be needed to translate that knowledge that people might be receiving into some tangible value that they can realize. But to support this system, we've been, across these 1,100 villages, we've also had to develop an infrastructure, a technology-based infrastructure, to be able to exchange these videos, as well as the data about how those videos are being used. And so we've been extending some of these notions of connected types of tools that we're used to using in places like here with things like Gmail, right? We have great productivity enhancing tools like Gmail, but these tools themselves won't be able to extend into these areas that have limited internet or electricity. So we've built upon the infrastructure of something like Gmail so that we can develop a enterprise resource planning type of system that operates in online and offline modes and that allows any individual or agency that has a web-enabled device, whether it be mobile or a laptop, to be able to share information about the farmers that they might be working with and the various types of interventions that they might be doing with them. So in our case, we're sharing videos, and so what we're tracking are these histories of these 85,000 farmers in terms of the videos that the farmers are watching on a week-to-week basis, the questions that they're asking to the facilitator that's leading the discussion around them, and the practices that a farmer might adopt after seeing a video, some of which they may adopt, of course, and some of which they may drop in a subsequent season. So this information allows us to target sort of the next iteration of the content that's being produced based on sort of the needs and interests that are being expressed. At the same time, these web-enabled devices don't exist everywhere. So we've also had to extend even this web-enabled type of system that operates in online and offline modes to even the most basic type of phone. So we've designed a system that's accessible on any phone that just is a call-in type of glorified version of voicemail, essentially, where farmers can leave questions and receive answers from experts at the local level amongst their partners, as well as to listen to audio versions of the video content that's being produced in case they need refreshing after they've watched a video and they go back to their fields the next day and they might have some questions about how to do so exactly. All of these videos that have been produced, these 2,000 videos that have been produced over the last 2.5 years, are all accessible over YouTube. But the thing with YouTube is that there's view counts, there's ratings, and there's comments on YouTube's play page, but all of those are based on people who are typing and clicking on those videos. But in our case, there's people who are watching these videos from like this Pico projector device offline. And what we're able to do is to connect the data that's coming in from that connect online, connect offline type of ERP type of system to this videos page, which is on our website, and you can see data about how many farmers watched this particular video, how many farmers after they saw this video actually adopted the practice contained in it. What were the particular periods of time when this video was screened, because some of these videos are more seasonal in nature than others. What were the individual questions that farmers asked when they saw these videos at particular places at particular times. And of course, then we can aggregate these videos and provide a vertical search and browse type of functionality. If you go to YouTube, it's very difficult to find what you're looking for because of the vast amount of video material that exists there. And just being able to put in a search term in the search box doesn't really help you find information perhaps pertaining to agriculture. But we can add on a layer on top of YouTube so that you can search based on geographic, linguistic, seasonal, crop-based dimensions. We've produced these 2,000 videos are in over 20 different languages in India. And these histories that we're building of these individual farmers over the course of time, and the video of the videos that they're watching on a monthly basis, allow us to create correlations between the videos that individual farmers are watching, the practices that they may or may not be adopting, and how those translate into changes in productivity and income over the course of time. That's really the power of the system. And we're also able to develop the relationships of these individual farmers that are interacting with the system, because they're typically watching these videos as groups, either as a women's self-help group or a farmer club of some variety on a week-to-week basis. And so we are able to develop these relationships or these farmers in a particular locale and connect the real world with the virtual world. So we've developed a game on Facebook, because just as we've been discussing here, that there's this growing disconnect between urban areas and rural areas here in the States, with 2% of farmers. In India, it's 60% of the population depends on agriculture as a major source of its livelihood. But yet, the growing middle class of urban youth is increasingly disconnected just as much as they are here with agriculture, but increasingly connected with things like Facebook. And so we're trying to connect sort of the real world of the farmers that we're working with, the livelihoods, the videos that are being produced about those individuals, with developing a virtual village economy that you're able to connect with your own social network of your real friends with this social network of farmers that we work in the real world. And we're able to basically put this all on a map so that you can see across the country how at a local village level, there's various types of interests that the communities have. There might be some practices that are more popular or less popular, resulting in more questions or less questions. And all of this data essentially being able to be used so that we can target the production of the next set of information based on the needs and interests that are being expressed. And we can do so at the village level, to the district level, to the state level, to the country level, and essentially build upon this network of these 100,000 extension officers across India and be able to leverage their ability to create and share knowledge and information of value to one another, and do so in a trust-making sort of way. Because the first two questions that are often asked when farmers watch these videos is, what is the name of the farmer in this video, and which village is he or she from, right? They really want to authenticate that this information or these videos are coming from a source that they can really trust. But just to close, we often see, coming from a technology-centric sort of view, this feeling of a digital divide between the developing world and the developed. But the reality is that it's not just the digital technology component, right? There's all sorts of other components that divide the developed world and the developing one. There's physical infrastructure, roads and connectivity, human capital of education and computer literacy, social institutions, finance, that all also need to be a part of the equation. Because in places like in the developed world, whether you be in Delhi or you're here in Urbana-Champaign, we found that we take for granted a lot of these other aspects, the physical, the human, social, financial elements, and when the digital component gets developed with things like YouTube, Facebook, or Gmail, we all experience gains in productivity. But sometimes in the developing world, we expect that technology or the digital infrastructure is meant to cross the chasm on its own. But what we've really found is that technology, whether it be a video camera or a seed or a pico projector, really is only good at magnifying human intent and capability. And really, if we're able to partner these technologies with competent and well-intentioned people and organizations, then we've found that we can achieve success. So with that, thank you very much for your time.